This is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee, and today is the 12th. We're at 8:25 in the morning, and we're at 81 degrees on the way up to 96. And it looks like we're going to stay around there for a while. Not going to get higher though. It keeps saying in a few days temperature's going to start going down, but probably isn't going to drop much till 10th, 15th of September, something like that. In my humble opinion, the Israel weather is very harsh 7 months out of the year. The summer is very, very dry and hot, and the winter can be very wet and cold. So maybe 6 months, about half the time, it's pretty miserable to go outside one way or the other. I call it punishment weather. That'll probably stop when we have the appearing in redemption. I expect it to stop. We had a big attack on the internet in Israel this morning, very early in the morning. I was up quite early, and it was wild. I mean, it's uh, it would work, and then 2 minutes later it wouldn't work, and it would work, and it wouldn't work, and it was websites didn't come in. I don't know exactly what happened. I know Haaretz just that they took their website offline. I believe it was that bad. It's been okay now for about a half hour or maybe 45 minutes. So I didn't know if I was going to be able to do the broadcast or not today. So we'll it looks like we can do it. Everything seems normalized now, but it was crazy for a while. I'll tell you that. It would work and it wouldn't work. It was nuts. I'd do a speed test. Oh, it's working. Then I go try to pull a website. It wouldn't work. So it looks like we're good. So today we're going to talk more about Trump, more about Iran, Trump's plans, what Trump is saying, what he thinks is going to happen. He's going to win, and Iran thinks they're going to win. We're going to talk about oil reserves and why that's important, like extremely important. And we're going to talk about militaries building up that look like they're going to be on their way to Zechariah 12. Yay! It'll be interesting, and we'll go back and do another chapter in John. I think we're up to 6, chapter 6. We'll do that. That's, I think, 70 verses. Wow. That's a lot of verses, huh? All right, I'm going to jump into the live stream and take a look around and make sure we got a live stream. And everything's looking good. And let's see. How's our sound? How's our sound? Sound looks good. All right, let me see if we got anything going on yet. No, just a few people come in yet. Okay, I'm gonna put a post up real quick while people are coming in. Um, it's gonna take seconds, not any amount of time. check for typos. And it's good. Now let me pin it. Make sure that took. Yeah, we good. Okay. I'm going to do something that's not done on the other sites. Do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. I'll do a quick prayer for us. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for a good broadcast today and good anointing, and the anointing transfers from the live stream to the video. And I pray we have a good time and things work out well technically and otherwise, and the people can understand the Bible studies and they know what the nations are up to and how you're fulfilling prophecy. And we would all, the true believers, would be blessed in this B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay, prayer request for EB Echo Bravo, EB Echo Bravo, and injured, like, kinetic or traumatic injury to the left foot. So we want to pray. I'll pray, you can agree with me or do your own prayer. My Heavenly Father, I pray for EB for healing in the left foot. A quick, solid, good healing. I pray for this, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with it, which should make it, I don't know, more powerful or something, or more persuasive, I don't know. And if you prefer to do your own prayer, you can. And please pray for my wife, Rivka. She's getting like arrhythmia, and pray for her arrhythmia and blood pressure, for my wife Rivka to have stable blood pressure and the arrhythmia goes away. Please pray for that, and I do now. I pray for that. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, you can agree with me or pray it on your own. Mommy dog is still doing pretty darn well. I mean, it's hard to detect that she's ill or anything. My wife's chasing after her to try to get a urine sample because the vet wants a urine sample. And the dog keeps thinking that, my wife doesn't want her to pee, so she doesn't pee. So it's a real, it's a mess. It's a mess. I don't know what was wrong. It seems to have passed. The dog Chico also, very nice recovery as of yesterday, had allergic reaction and had little bumps, welts, whatever. They're going down, sleeping and resting and returning back to normal. So that worked out good. Do I have any other prayer requests? I think not. You can always send one in or put it up in the chat. The price for a prayer request is absolutely nothing. Free. They're free. Okay. So what's going on? Trump is saying Iran is bleeding badly. Trump bets that the economic pain will force Tehran to surrender. He's still ignorant. You can't teach this guy. He doesn't learn, okay? I'm sure the Pentagon knows that it ain't going to work either. And he just keeps doing it. They're not going to surrender, number one. Number two, they're getting a lot of stuff into the country, okay? Their railroads are operating. They're working on the Crimea Sea. They have, I think, 3 portals open between them and Pakistan so they could get things from Pakistan delivered in there. And the aircraft are flying in and out. So what does Trump think he's accomplishing? I have no idea. The game of chicken continues. And we'll cover that with the oil reserves in a moment when I get to it. Okay, 4 crew members were killed in an Iranian-backed, the Houthis, they're like an arm of Iran, attacked a cargo ship in the Bab el Mandeb Strait. That's the Red Sea down below there. And that took place on Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. Yemen's transport minister said while the U.S. military said it struck a container ship attempting to sail towards an Iranian port, 2 Yemeni So Iran and their puppets are still active in attacking ships. So they have the Straits of Hormuz and the Red Sea closed. And why? Why do they have that? Because they're playing chicken with Trump, and Trump wants to see who blinks first. Is Iran going to run out of oil first? Not oil. Is Iran going to run out of money and, have to come make a deal? Or is America going to run out of oil? The ship that they attacked yesterday, the Houthis, was a Saudi-owned ship. And several crew members were, in fact, killed. Not that Saudi's going to really do anything about killing civilians, Okay. Trump in an interview with Real America's Voice, whoever they are. We have 3 strategies for dealing with Iran. Okay. Number 1, to monitor and see just how bad their situation is. Well, economically and stuff. The second option that Trump is saying he has is to strike them with force. And the third option, he says, is to apply economic pressure, and that's what we're already doing. Well, yeah, he is. But he's letting too many leaks happen. You know, the land border crossings open with Pakistan, getting trucks in, airplanes flying in, trains, Crimea, ships. No, it's too much. So Trump is correct on those three measures, that's for sure. Uh, what else Trump is saying in this interview is this: we control a large portion of the Iranian uh, funds and assets, and they are under our complete control. No, uh, they're Trump is definitely bothering them in a big way, but that's an exaggerated statement. Inflation in Iran has reached 300%. That's probably 300% in a month or something. You know, its currency is almost worthless, correct? And it is not paying salaries to its soldiers. This, I believe, is true. If we allow the other side to win in the midterm elections, the country will be under the rule of jihadists. Well, I would kind of expect that. Um, there's something wrong with the people in America, you know? You got the women's rights people, and some of them actually support uh, the Muslim Palestinian cause when they, would have to wear a hijab. They're taught in the mosque that if the wife gets out of order, to beat her, like punch her, you know, uh, throw her down and take a strap and whip her and stuff like that. I mean, they're really uh, nasty about it. Um, I believe the woman's vote in courts or her being a witness or something counts about half as much as a man, and they support him. And then the LGBT community supports him, and they take these people, hold them off a roof by their ankles, head down, and tell them why they're killing them, and then drop them head first. And they support him. Now, this is fascinating. The court in Syria yesterday really, sentenced Bashar Assad, that was the guy that ran away to go be with Putin in Moscow, to death in absentia because he's not there. And they also sentenced Atir Najib their cousin who served in a senior position uh, under Assad. He got sentenced to death in absentia. He is imprisoned by the new regime and is likely to be executed soon. I don't think Bashar Assad could do anything about that. Now, Russia is making deals with Syria to move in on those bases he abandoned and have another base for ships on the Mediterranean again, and an air base, and then his old buddy Bashar Assad, who he's housing in Moscow, gets a death sentence from this existing government. So these events are probably connected. They want to make sure Russia doesn't reinstate Bashar Assad and overthrow Giuliani, the Al Qaeda guy with a new paint job, you know. So this is getting interesting. Okay. Now we're getting a new twist in Israeli politics. It's actually for the better. Some of the people in Israel have gotten together finally and said, we're sick and tired of the Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox. They want to take our money. They want to bleed us. They want to tell us who's a Jew and who's not a Jew. They want to tell, remember, these people run around with a white shirt and black pants and black shoes, black coats, black fedora hats, the men. And, why are they doing that? Because they're telling them you got to dress like a Jew. But they're dressing them like it's the shtetl in Russia in 1890. What is this? This is absurd. Nobody likes this, and they're so arrogant and so full of themselves and so puffed up. They're not going in the draft. They're getting money from the state. They get a secular education up to and including the 8th grade, and then that's over. So that keeps them trapped in their Haredi, whatever you want to call it, heresy, cult, whatever. They're stuck there. They don't have any skill to go out in the world, right? I mean, they're not going to go get a job with an 8th grade education very easily unless they can do something, like they learned auto mechanics or they learned carpentry or, something like that, welding or I don't know, it's not so easy. So they are kind of weird. They keep to themselves. They want nothing to do with the other Jews. They look at us as non-Jews that are Jews, so they call us historical Jews. We're not really Jews. They're very insulting. And they don't even study the Bible too much. They study the Talmud, which is not the Bible, contradicts the Bible, and they study the Kabbalah, which is an evil book. So let me tell you what's going on. This is actually a good thing. But it's a bad thing because it might keep Netanyahu in power. See, Netanyahu's a big problem here. Okay, Israel politics has long been divided like two camps. That of Netanyahu's Likud and its associated supporters that come and go in the far right, and that's Smotrich and Ben Gvir, and the ultra-Orthodox parties. So Ben Gvir and Smotrich were 15 votes, more or less. You can vary a vote or two here and there, yeah, over time. And the Haredi, United Torah Judaism, and the Shas Party, those are the two parties, also have 15 votes. So that 15 of 15 is 30. Then Likud has many votes. Okay, Likud could have 25. So then he picks up a handful of votes from some other party, Lieberman or whatever, right? Whoever he can pick up. And then he has his 61. And that's his majority. It's 120 seats in our one house parliament. So that's what goes on. And it's it's annoying, you know. I mean, I don't mind too much what Smotrich or Ben Gvir do, but you know, I mind what the Haredi do. I don't know where they go for health care. I don't get that. I know the health plan I use, I never see them there. I don't know where they go. The so-called change block that was Bennett, I guess. Bennett's not coming in too strong right now. So there's the so-called change block of Zionist opposition factions such as former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett's Yachad and Gadi Eisenkopf's Yasher. So you see, the more division we get around here, the easier it becomes for Netanyahu to win, unfortunately. However, the leaders of the new third bloc aim to shift the dynamic. Remember, we're in August, the voting is October 27th. They want to shift this dynamic, hoping to replace the ultra-Orthodox as the country's electoral kingmaker. In other words, they're going to be the ones that are going to say who is the prime minister, who's going to win for the race to be prime minister, and broker a deal which would show them to rein in the extremists. They want to have these the Haredim rather conscripted going in the draft. They want that, and they want to break the ongoing deadlock, which neither the pro nor anti-Netanyahu has enough support to form a government following the October 7th election, October 27th. So, yeah, they're trying to get parties together and just push the Haredi out. At the same time, Netanyahu told them that their bill in the Knesset to keep them out of the draft while it passed the Knesset and had some votes on it. It never came. We'll have to see how this goes. It could work against us. See, Israel will be a much better place to live because the Haredi are too powerful and they're dirty rats. They hate us. They hate all the people that are not them. They dislike them. They resent them. They teach the people junk, not the Bible. And they have them living a horrible lifestyle and everything else. So it's really bad. They pack our food prices up, I figure, about 20% with all this koshering they do, which is not in the Bible. You know, that's Talmud stuff that they dreamed up themselves to make money. There is no koshering food. There's, you know, it's nonsense. You know, and they have different levels of koshering that make it even more expensive. Behedrin, glatt kosher, and all this stuff is really silly. So that'll go away, and they're not going to kill koshering. What they're going to do is say any rabbi, reform or conservative or whatever, can kosher food, can say he's kosher, food's kosher. You don't have to be one of their ultra orthodox in the rabbinate. You know, Netanyahu let them have the chief rabbinate office and control the koshering because it's corruption. You see, then he gets the votes, and then we got to pay a lot more money for our food. And probably the 20% figure would probably go down to about 5 or 7%. Okay, so that would be rather helpful. All right. Smotrich is actually the economics minister, and he went ahead and did a study a few months ago that the food prices like tripled, and during the war, which started in 2023, and there's absolutely no reason for it. They're just profiteering. And he put it out there in the media, and what did Netanyahu do about it? Did he start with price fixing, which is illegal in Israel, as in go to jail illegal? Did he do anything like that? No, he's a piece of garbage. No. Corruption kicks in. He probably got a palm smearing, I'm guessing. I have no factual information. And it went away. Nothing's being done about it, and all the millions of Israelis got to go to the supermarket and make these supermarket owners into billionaires. See, this whole place has to get gone, okay? Everything in this place is rotten in Israel, okay? The whole government is corrupt in various ways. The biggest thing the poor Israeli people have been taught is protexia, which is corruption. Protexia is like protection. In other words, you know, you're gonna go on welfare, you got disability, you don't try to take an honest approach to it, okay? You don't try to take a legal approach to it. You go to somebody in the government and use corruption to unfairly be granted things you probably don't deserve. They love this. They all brag about their protexia. Oh, he's got so much protexia, this one's got so much. They don't see the light. When you have protexia, you ruin a country. All it does is ruin a country. The people in Israel are rather miserable because of this garbage bucket called Netanyahu. The only ones that are benefiting under him is maybe 2-3% of the population that are the privileged Satan bots. Maybe that's high. Maybe 1.5%, something like that. Maybe very few. The run-of-the-mill Satan bot is not important to them. They don't care. They throw them under the bus all the time. It's the ones that own the defense industry companies, the supermarkets, the big food producers, the big real estate guys, the airlines, these are the people, they're the ones getting rich. And we get poorer and poorer. And Netanyahu likes it because he wants to see us leave. And if we don't leave, he wants to see us groveling and living on welfare and eating bologna sandwiches. So nobody else comes here. His job is to keep Jews out of Israel and reduce the Jewish population. You think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. By his actions, that's his job. You want to talk about what he says is his job, or you want to believe him, go ahead, I don't believe him. You want to look at his actions, that's what he's done. He's made it very, very hard on Jews here. He's what I would call a self-hating Jew. He's a pro-Satan. He's for, not for the God of Israel, he's for the God of the dead. So he makes life very, very, very hard on us here. Not that you're going to have a great candidate that's not a Satan bot, that you're not going to see. It's one Satan bot or another Satan bot. But, he protects his supermarkets with their price fixing and bleeding us dry because it suits his needs. Why doesn't he stop it? They got a bill passed quite a few months ago that we were exempt from VAT on importing packages into the country. It went up from $75 to $150. Well, in America before Trump, it used to be $800. A more realistic $50, but it was better than what we had. It lasted about 6 or 8 weeks, and they changed it from 150 to 130. And then another 10 weeks or so, they brought it down to $75. And he lets the Haredi control so many parts of the government. It's sickening. Sickening. Okay? So they're trying to unseat the Haredi. It's going to be hard. These are the most unfair people you could imagine. They want everything for themselves and nothing for us. And they go ahead and tell us, well, we pray for you. They don't pray. They taught them reading prayers out of a prayer book is praying. It's not. Reading Psalms is praying. It's not. They don't pray. It's just hoodwinking the poor people in Israel. So the whole system has to come down. And that's why you see in Zechariah 12, I don't see the government there at all. I don't see it. So you might see this whole government get destroyed. I don't know. Or when Elijah comes, he may get rid of them. The people who just teach the people what's going on, and they'll wake up and they'll be it. So, I don't know exactly. See, we're not given all the details in there. But Netanyahu's trying to load up again and go for another 4 years of torturing the Israeli public, getting us into wars and stopping before we get a victory so the enemy could rise up again. That's exactly what happened in Gaza. Nobody's disarming them. Nobody's killing them. Nobody's running them out of Gaza. Who's doing it? Nobody. They talk about it, and they talk about it, and they talk about it with no action. I don't think Netanyahu will ever do it. Now we got a new development, and it doesn't make me feel good. We got this piece of garbage, Netanyahu, in the control seat here. Turkey has been establishing bases in Syria and putting their soldiers in there, and now we got Russia putting bases and taking back their 2 bases in Syria. So because of Netanyahu and his blundering imbecility, he's an imbecile. He's not Do you think Netanyahu is smart? He's a deceiver. He's a transactional derelict. He doesn't know what he's doing. His if you understood what he really is, which some of you do, most of you don't, and most of you wouldn't believe me. He's a complete fruitcake, a lunatic. He got nuts in there, like a fruitcake. He's a nut job. Okay, it's not normal. He's crackpot, and he is. Why did this happen in Turkey? Why? Well, he was probably too busy with other things, like his election. Trump doesn't seem to give a hoot. I don't think Turkey wants to see Bashar Assad back in power. I do think Iran and Russia would like to see Bashar Assad back in power. But I don't know what's going to happen there. I know Damascus will be a ruinous heap, but that's Netanyahu to nincompoop. So if you're going to try to get rid of the Haredi, the problem that you have is they might just gravitate to Netanyahu, even though he told them that law exempting them from the draft was kicked down by the Supreme Court, and Netanyahu said we're not going to redoing that law. He was saying the Haredi just have to go through with the draft. I think that was a lie, and he said it to win the election, and then after the election he's going to just reinstate that law, try to get it through again or something like that. Lying is no problem for him. A U.S. military has attacked a Panama flagged civilian cargo ship attempting to enter an Iranian port in the Persian Gulf, allegedly carrying only food and medicine. Well, you see, they say food and medicine, right? They can't go around and say weapons. What are they going to say? So he might have had, Trump probably had intel, probably had good intel that something was wrong. And that's not what it is. Hang on a second, this is about my food coming. They sent me 2 messages. I'm sorry, supposed to be getting a delivery this morning. And I gotta see what they're saying. Oh, they started preparing the order. I don't think there's anything they run out of. I don't think. I gotta check their other message. Oh, the other message was yesterday, so that's not important. So it's 9 o'clock. They said they would deliver at 11. I don't think they'll ever make it. I told my wife 11 could mean 1 o'clock, 1:30. Okay. So it was a Panama flagged vessel that they hit, trying to go to Iran. A U.S. helicopter struck the Panama uh, flagged Vela Nova was the name of the boat. I guess that's Spanish. It was a cargo ship with the helicopter hit it with a missile near Pakistan's coast, sparking a fire. The officials said all 17 crew members survived. I guess they jumped. The Americans said that the rudder was targeted, which stops the boat from steering. There's that Lincoln aircraft carrier, and there's rumors. I don't know if this is true. It's coming out of Twitter. I have no idea if this is true or phony. But they're saying that the people on the ship were getting insane, and 6 people tried to jump overboard. Now, this was not coming from official U.S. channels. It was Twitter. So who the heck knows what this? Could it be true? Sure. Do I think it's true? I don't know what to think, but it's not coming from the big news sources that would verify it. So I don't know what the deal is with that, really. We've never heard of that ever happening before in any aircraft carrier. Now, this is going on in Dubai, which is like a province of the UAE or a state of the UAE. 95% of Dubai is expats. In other words, the people that are from another country that move there frequently because you don't have to pay any taxes. So if you're the kind of person that works in the digital realm, you don't have to have a plant with manufacturing, inventory, shipping it. You just work on the internet or digitally. You can, it's attractive, but you're going to be looking at maybe $6, $8, $10, $12,000 a month rent. Okay, so let's talk what happened. Thousands of people yesterday went to the airport in Dubai, basically causing chaos in the airport, and they were trying to book flights anywhere. Well, the only thing we got, sir, is a flight to Antarctica. I'll take it. Well, we have a flight to Christmas Islands. I'll take it. Anything. They just want to get out of there because there's rumors of an Iranian attack. Now, the rumors of this Iranian attack coming on Dubai. We didn't pick it up in the media. I didn't get it from anywhere but this. The guy that I've been using that reads a lot of the Arab media and puts it into Hebrew, and then I put it into English for you guys, isn't posting anymore. He's so sick and disgusted with Trump's constant lying that he gets fed up and he stops posting for periods of time. the people in Israel are very aware of Trump's lying, and when you ask them what will Iran attack us again, you're going to get, well, 50-50, stuff like that. People aren't really aware. Do I think the government of Israel really knows? No, I don't think so. I don't think Trump knows. I don't think Iran really knows what they're going to do. I think they're trying to avoid attacking us because Netanyahu has zero concerns for what happens to Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. We don't care. So if we attack them and they start raining missiles down on the UAE, yawn, who cares? We're not going to. Okay, you want to rain missiles, rain missiles. But now we're experiencing a new surge of things. Some of these countries want to get closer to Israel with the military things in mind. What they want are weapons from Israel. They're not, there's like, you don't need foot soldiers. They want drones. They want radar. They want devices that let them eavesdrop on the enemy's communications. They want missiles. They want anti-missile systems. They definitely going to want the Iron Beam, the laser. They want these things, okay? They even like our Tabor assault rifle because it's short and it doesn't lose velocity. They found a way. Usually you lose 100 feet per second per inch, okay? So if you take like, I don't know, an 18-inch barrel M16 and they had pistols that shot M16s. I had one, like about 25, 30 years ago. No, about 20, 25 years ago. And it was really a big, bulky thing. You could put a clip of 40 rounds in it, a regular M16 clip, or a shorter clip with 20 or whatever you wanted. And it was semi-automatic, and it would you were going down to about 7.5-inch barrel. You were losing about 1,000 feet per second. Actually less. You were losing, I think it was 16 inches to 7.5. So you weren't losing it. You were getting down to about, if I remember, 2,400 feet per second from about 3,300, something like that. I was wondering how good it would be, but because you're at about a 50 grain bullet, but you still had the ability to penetrate regular body armor. You wouldn't do too good, like if you shot it at a car and tried to stop the motor from running, nah, it wouldn't work. Cops were able to buy armor-piercing ammo. You as a civilian, I remember you were able to buy it into the mid-70s. People would buy those, they'd buy little 25 caliber Browning pistols, and they were excellent. And they had a knockoff made by a company called Bauer in stainless steel. It was the same gun made by another company. And it didn't do much if you shot somebody with it. But, seriously speaking, if you shot somebody and they had a big, thick, bulky leather motorcycle jacket, and you shot them, and by the time they got through that, it might just hit your skin and stick in halfway. In other words, it'd be like getting hit with a BB gun or something, It wouldn't do much. You just pull it out and put a Band-Aid on it, wash it out. You wouldn't have any real problem with it. it wasn't, you know, very lethal. So if you put, I heard, remember a story, some kids shot one in the house by mistake and it hit the mother's, they call them a break front. It's like a piece of furniture that does nothing. It has shelves and glass and wood, and you put things on the shelves, like stupid things like dishes and knickknacks and stuff like that, and it decorates the house. So the bullet hit the glass on one of the doors for this piece of furniture, and it broke the glass and went into the piece of furniture and fell down on the shelf. So it had enough energy just to get through the glass. So if you bought a 50 caliber armor piercing, what the effect you would get would be the bullet would pretty much go in and maybe even go out the other side. So when you have a bullet go in and go out the other side, you have double bleeding. You have two holes to lose blood out of. Okay. Some people were buying that, uh, and then they also had just to make the gun more potent. And people could do that also if they wanted to carry a 32. But with a 32, you were already getting into a real bullet. You had 70 something grains. You had 850, 900 feet per second. You had a real bullet. The 380 was what the cops would say is the minimum to carry. And that would work. You had 95 grain bullets, but I had different guns, little guns, and they're very flaky to try to use. I had a high standard Derringer in 22 Magnum, but it had about a 2-inch barrel, 2.5 inch. It had it was double barrel like this, and it had, you pulled the trigger once, firing pin would hit one barrel, you fired a second time, it would hit another barrel, but the bullet wouldn't do much. It's a desperate thing. Maybe you put it in a boot, or you hide it somewhere in your body so if someone gets to jump on you, you take your gun away. You take that and you pretty much need to do a head shot or a throat shot or an eye shot or something like that, or you're not going to get anywhere with the thing. Go right up, put it on their forehead and fire it, and it may bounce off. They're really not good guns. So that was, I bought that when I was a young guy, real young, in law enforcement. And when I used to work in the jail as a deputy sheriff, I used to take that into jail with me, which was against the rules. But I figured if they ever found out I did it, they'd fire me, or they would just tell me not to do it again and write me up, or something like that. They, I forgot I had it in my pocket, or whatever. I wasn't a believer then. Because if these guys were I was working in the, they didn't like a New York Jew with a college degree, so I was working in the high security part, and I was there, and the other guy, two of us were there. The other guy was the captain's son, and he was there because he was the captain's son, and they wanted to pick on him. So he was there, and the captain couldn't interfere, and I was there because I'm the New York Jew with the college degree. This place was so bad, the federal judge wouldn't let any federal prisoners go there. You couldn't put them in there. We had federal prisoners there. We had immigration and naturalization prisoners, a lot of that, see. It was really a rough and tumble place, so if they were going to try to overrun us, what they wanted us to do. We had keys. Your keys are huge. They're brass keys. They're big things, like 2.5, 3 inches, big, heavy, thick things. And you get them on a ring, and you have a piece of wood like 5 or 6 inches to make sure you could find it easier. And there was a drop box. One of us worked upstairs, one of us worked downstairs, and we had a drop box. So if you were going to get overrun, you put your keys in the drop box, and so they couldn't get the keys, and then you had to battle it out with them. But even though I had studied martial arts, I mean, what am I going to do if I got 4 or 6 of them coming on me? Only in Hollywood do you beat up 4 crazy inmates by yourself. I don't care if you got 20 years of martial arts experience, 4 of these guys from the streets of Oakland coming at you. You might hurt them a little bit, but that's not going to stop them. When they grab you, that's it. Most people, there's this guy, his name is Bertel. He's in the Shotokan realm of teaching. He's a 7th degree black belt. The kid is gifted. He's probably in his 30s now. He's gifted. He's a great athlete. So in other words, if he was playing baseball, he'd be good at it. If he was going to play horseshoes, he'd be good at it. He was just, he has eye-hand coordination, the right muscles, and he's extremely good at it. But he's, I don't know what he is, 5'7", 5'6". So you get a guy that's 6'3", 220, and strong. Okay, maybe he's just a street fighter, and you put the 2 of them together. And this guy's been running karate for, I'd say, probably around 20 years, 15, 20 years. And I would say there's an 80, 90% chance he loses the fight. Because all he's going to do is damage the guy a little bit, and then the guy's going to just go like that and hit him in the head, and his bones are going to fracture. And that's the end of the fight. I mean, if you stand still and he could get to you and throw a kick at you and hit you in the ribs, is he going to break some ribs? Maybe. When you're dealing with a guy 6'3", 220, maybe not, maybe yes. But what if that guy grabs his leg and starts yanking and just rips him off the ground? You see, it just doesn't work. There's a lot of people that study martial arts for many years that are small. I knew a guy that lost the fight once, and I was talking to him about it. He was a very small guy. He was an officer in the Army and everything. I think he was about 5'5". And he was a black belt. He went for a few years, He lost the fight. See, it doesn't really work. Now, there was a movie where they portrayed this. They had this Donnie Yuen, which is a famous Chinese movie star with kung fu movies and stuff, and like a Jackie Chan sort of guy. And he knows the martial arts, of course, and he did a movie with Tyson. And Tyson was the bad guy, so he's sitting there, and he's actually sparring with Tyson, or Tyson's character in a real fight. That Tyson put the clock on for 3 minutes, so he attacks Tyson's fingers, which is a tactic, you kick it. So Tyson just goes like that and cracks his fingers back, and then he hits Tyson in the thigh. He throws a kick into his thigh. It doesn't even register with Tyson. He doesn't even pay attention, And he goes to kick him, and Tyson just puts his arms up. He's used to getting boxers throwing big punches at him, and puts his arms up. So the kicks are hitting his arms, and nothing's happening. And then he lands something on his face, and Tyson just shakes his head. This is what the people that go to martial arts schools don't understand. They never teach you how to fight for real in these schools. They just don't. They teach you systems. Krav Maga is the same thing. They teach you a system. Your body can reflexively, your mind and your body can reflexively learn, perhaps in a rare instance, 12 or 14 moves that you respond to reflexively. Usually it's around 10. And that's it. And they try to teach you 50 or 60. You can never get there. Okay? So you watch these guys free spar in contests, and they look like, they, first of all, they don't carry the form. Everything gets sloppy, and when you get sloppy, they don't have the power in it. And, stuff like that. It doesn't work. Can they be effective against somebody that's not a trained fighter? Yes. Any fighting art that you study is going to help you against an untrained fighter. But what if they get against somebody that's big and strong, like a football player? Guy's just going to tackle him. And when he gets him down on the ground, he's going to just pummel him. They get a phony sense of security with this. I knew a kid, he was, I think, a brown belt or a black belt, and he was in the street, and some guys started up with him, and he threw a kick at him or something, and they stabbed him a few times. He was in the hospital for weeks recovering. They see, what they don't teach the people is how to feint, not how to fall down and feint. F-E-I-N-T. Make like you're going to do one move, like you're going to go like this, and then do something else to distract the person. When you watch Bruce Lee, if you know what to look for, he would always feint before he attacked. Okay, boxers do this all the time. Wrestlers even do it, but the wrestling on TV is a joke, If you watch college wrestling competitions, that's real, but it's phony fighting. It's not a real way to fight. You can't fight on the ground. If you're going to get bothered in the street, there's probably a 90% chance, or even 98% chance, there's going to be two or more of them. Okay? Because that's how they are. They don't go and go pick a fight that they're going to lose. And sometimes martial arts people pick fights. I remember walking in San Francisco in Chinatown one time. I don't remember where I was headed. It was a weeknight. It was drizzling, dark, and damp. I don't remember why I was out. It was on the outskirts of Chinatown, and I'm walking, and then there's some Chinese kid in the doorway, and he starts making noise or something, to provoke me to go fight him. And back then you were able to carry nunchaka without any problems legally, so I had a nice set of hardwood nunchaka. I had one nunchaka hanging down the sleeve of my coat. It was cold. And I had the other one hanging loose and could just whip it out. So I could have cracked the kid's head open. But I just crossed the street. I had no interest in fighting the kid. I didn't even know who he was. But, sometimes you get idiots that'll sit there and start a fight. Now, why do I say he was a martial artist? Because it was in Chinatown, and he was Chinese, and he didn't look like the village idiot, and, he was trying to find somebody just to make trouble, so you can't, every time somebody wants to start a fight with you, you can't fight them, because you're going to get police involvement, and then you're going to have a sheet, a record, and the judge is going to see this is the third or fourth time it happened, and, they're going to start with therapy, and, you don't want that, So, these martial arts things are a gimmick. They just send you there for years and years. So they never teach you how to feint. And they never really teach you how to hurt somebody quick and easy. and they practice for years stupid blocks like high block, medium block, medium block, low block. That works if someone tries to kick you. That actually works. But the others don't work. You know, the idea in the old Shotokan is you would get so good at this, and you pivot the bone here. So when you come against a blow here, you go like that, and your bone snaps it, and it's supposed to break the other guy's bone. Yeah, let me play my violin and see. You could go sit there for 50 years and try to do that, and I'd really like to see you go like that and snap a young person's and a young athletic person's bone. Maybe an 80-year-old guy, you might maybe, but he's not even that. I mean, it's ridiculous, you know. They, you know, theoretically, when they study it, they can deliver very high power and punches and kicks. But when they're out in the street and their opponent is moving around, they can't. See, so they teach you to fight in a very unrealistic way. And the Japanese really built that up in America. It was Jerome Mackey's schools of judo back, I think, even in the 50s. They were teaching judo. Is judo a great way to fight? It is if you're going to fight somebody who doesn't know how to fight. If you're just dealing with belligerent big people, yeah, you could use judo and hurt them. But if you're dealing with somebody that can fight, it's not such a great idea. So they don't teach you. They don't. I never see them teach punching in here. I never see them go like that against the eyes. I never see or never heard of a martial arts guy saying the clavicle bone, you could break it with 12 or 15 pounds of pressure. So you just go like this as hard as you can with this part of your hand, and you break it, and it could actually penetrate the lung. The whole assembly, the arm isn't going to work. You know, I've never seen him tell you to go like that really hard, and you stun people that way. I've never seen him say that. I've never seen him say go down on the nose like this really hard. You know, they teach nonsense. Now, what the problem is, the ones in Japan, the Japanese people that learn from the Japanese people in Japan, they learn all these things that I'm telling you they don't teach in the other countries. I don't care if it's Europe or South America or America or Israel or anywhere, they don't teach you that. Okay, the guys in Japan know these things, and they teach it to the other Japanese who won't teach it out of Japan. Okay? And they know how to do some of this stuff. So I ran into some of them. I was teaching karate once in New York, and there were some Japanese people I came across. And I would spar with them, and they were different than American students of the martial arts. They were better. They were better. After many, many years, I realized that the only person that ever really taught real martial arts was this guy, what was his name? Fairbairn, Bairn. He was from the Shanghai Police Department. They said he was in something like 300 documented fights. He was training the police there. He was a British guy. And he taught the American OSS, those would be spies, if you will, how to fight unarmed combat. They had, I believe, 6 months of training, and he trained them. He trained them in shooting too, and he trained them in using different weapons like knives and stuff. He created that Fairbairn-Sykes dagger that was designed to attack sentries. You know, it's not. People think it's a good fighting knife. Yeah, it is if you're the type of, you know, if you want to walk around and you want to go into a bar and they got a guy at the bar checking, you know, your ID, and he doesn't know who you are. He tells you got to wait, you can't go in, and then if you want to take that knife out and give it to him in the kidneys, it's great. Or if you see sentries somewhere you like to attack, police or armed guards with it and stick it in their kidneys is wonderful, but you know, it's a wartime implement. It's not a good fighting knife. The blade is too thin. You can't get good cuts. It's okay, but a Bowie knife is the king. But yeah, you know, it's such a big racket what they did with this, and kids practice it. I hear so many times these people become black belts and they lose in fights because they never really learned how to fight. But then you take a kid that went to a real boxing school for 6 months. He's gonna probably wipe the floor with these other guys because he's really used to full impact. He learns footwork. I mean, 6 months is an abbreviated period of time, but you know, if the guy went, 3 days a week for 2 hours for 2 years or 3 years, he'd be 3 times better than somebody who went to karate school that amount of time. The karate school is great if you learn how to kick well, and some jerk bothers you, a bully who doesn't know how to fight, and you just lay into him with a kick. You're gonna really disable the guy. But you teach your kid in school to do that. So some kids bother him in high school, big bullies, and he goes and he kicks the guy in the ribs and cracks 3 ribs. And then the guy bends over and he smacks him in the jaw and breaks some teeth or something. So what happens? Well, teachers, the principal's going to get pretty worried about this. What do I do if the next time somebody picks on your kid, he kills them? They get pretty bent out of shape, And then what about if this kid and his thug's friends come after you one day with lead pipes and baseball bats? Well, fighting one person with a lead pipe and a baseball bat is maybe manageable, but not 3 or 4. You could have, you could take the guy that's the head of the karate or aikido system, the boss of all of them, and you get 3 New York thugs with baseball bats to go after this guy, and he's gonna go to the morgue or the hospital. He ain't gonna win. He might hurt one of them, but it's you see all these things how they disable you with a knife. But I used to tell people you just have 2 knives, and then they disable this knife, great, and then the other one goes right in his ribs. And then he goes, oh, So, it's so silly. It's just a scam, There was a guy, they call it, I think, the Fendu. Fairbank's stuff was called the Fendu. I created my own system years ago. I called it Jew Can Do. But I never taught it, though. I wasn't left to teach it. So he created that. And there was a kid, when I was in high school, there was a guy that was getting ready to get out of high school and join the army and go to Vietnam. I think he wanted revenge for a relative or something. And he went and took this course from the guy. And the guy was teaching him the Fairbairn stuff. A 6-month course, and that's it, you're done. Yeah, they really teach it. That it's almost a lost art. It's still around, but if you're gonna go try to find somebody to teach it, you're gonna have a lot of trouble with it. But there's other things you could do here. This is a stainless steel thermos. It's nice thermos, It's full of water. It has a lot of mass. What did this just become? Right? What is it? It's got water. It's got a lot of mass in it. Am I getting through? Now, what if I was really worried, and that's a good thermos. It insulates really good. So I was going to go out in the street in New York, and I'm really worried. So what do? I take my water kettle and I boil some water, right? Okay. Put it on my thermos. Now I need a cover story, so I drop some lemon in it or a tea bag, right? So now I'm carrying hot tea. I put the tea bag in for a minute or two so it becomes like tea. And then I take the tea bag and throw it away because I don't want it clogging my opening. And I put the cap back on, right? Okay. Now I got scalding hot water, right? Okay. So I'm walking to go to my car or go someplace, and it's a bad neighborhood or I'm afraid. So I open it up like this, and I got the hot water heater. And somebody comes over and tries to assault me. Boom! I throw it in their face. What happens? What happens is I walk away and they scream. That's what happens. Yeah, it's you know, the street thug's always gonna pick something up. Okay, uh, you know, an umbrella. You know, they sell umbrellas. You can put it across two tables or sawhorses, and a guy my size could stand on it and it won't break. It's an umbrella. It works. I mean, it stops the rain, and you can't break it. And you know, but it doesn't have any mass. It doesn't really hurt people. It confuses them. You know, you know, if everything hit the fan, and you had a nice Bowie knife, and you opened up someone was bothering you, you didn't have a gun, you opened up your umbrella, you blocked them, and then the Bowie knife, you know. But, you know, a walking stick, a cane, you got to get a good one. The wooden ones work, but the ones made out of metal are better, but they're heavier. Um, you could just go to I don't know, a machinery place and get a stainless steel, like 304 stainless steel. Get I don't know, 36 inches or whatever is good for you. Piece, and then add about 7 or 8 inches on it, so you get about 44, 45 inches or something like that of say 2 millimeter wall thickness, 1 inch diameter stainless steel. Stainless steel is extremely dense, and you have the place bend it. There's special benders, so you bend it like that, so it's got a curve like a cane. And then you got to get a rubber tip for it. You can get those at Amazon or in a lot of places, so you don't slip when you use it. And you're basically walking around with a lead pipe, but it's called a stainless steel cane. Batter up, you know. Some guy that goes to karate school for years, and you're just mildly athletic, and you got batter up 2 millimeter wall thickness cane, you know, that has a 36-inch length. What's he gonna do? Take it away from you? How? Kick it and knock it out of your hand? How? And what's he gonna do when you swing it at him and he starts trying to block it and it hits his arm or his leg or his fingers or something? It's gonna break it. That's what's gonna happen. So anyway, so what's going on in Dubai, we don't know. But for thousands of people to all head to the airport and get a ticket to nowhere. In other words, they're just saying, I don't care. Well, I'll go to Bolivia or I'll go to Romania or I'll go anywhere. Let me get out of here. And then when I get there, I'll catch another flight and go where I need to go. Right? They just want to get out of there because they're scared there's going to be a big attack. Now, could that be that the Iranians are going to ground attack. Could you imagine being in Dubai and it comes under siege by the Iranians? What's Trump going to do? Oh, he's going to be yelling and screaming before he does anything. It comes under siege, and what are they going to do with you? Oh, there's a problem. They got to collect the weapons that people have, although maybe in Dubai civilians don't have weapons. That makes it easier for the Iranians. Or they're going to want to loot, plunder, pillage, and rape everybody. So they're going to go door to door. They're going to want you to come out and register. And that's if they don't decide. They might just decide they want to kill everyone. Then they don't care about anything. You know, imagine you're in a 50, 70-story building and it starts getting hit with artillery shells and drones blowing up and stuff. Gosh. Imagine you're falling out the window 60 stories up. The IRGC warns the U.S. of attacking again. In other words, they're warning the U.S. not to attack again. If a threat to Iran arises again, hundreds of thousands of miles of energy pipelines. So they're saying hundreds of thousands of miles of energy pipelines. So are they talking about? Water and sewage now? LNG, the natural gas, the liquid natural gas, and the oil. They're going to destroy the pipelines. Will that create a chronic oil shortage in the United States? And that's why they're riding horses in Zechariah 12 low, to create a chronic oil shortage around the world. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about going around and blowing the pipelines up all over the place. They can do that on the ground. Or they could do it all around the Middle East. So Trump can close the Persian Gulf to them, and they could destroy all the pipelines that move the oil to the refineries, and then from the refineries it moves it to the ports where they load it onto the ships. They also said they would attack thousands of power plants. Maybe they're talking cyber attack. And all American and non-American systems. That's rather vague. I don't know what they mean. I really don't. As well as global infrastructure connected to the internet would be at risk. And I read that this morning, and our internet was out for a couple of hours. It was floundering. It would work one minute, and the next minute it wouldn't work, then it would work and not work. So they were trying to repel some sort of an attack. So I think what Iran's talking about there is cutting the cables. The Houthis cut the cables in the Red Sea, and Iran cuts the cables there. It's going to be it'll heavily affect a lot of Europe, not all of Europe, and parts of Africa, not all of Africa, and parts of the Middle East. Israel probably very slightly affected, if at all. Okay, America, you're not going to be affected, except you won't be able to reach places in the Middle East, parts of Europe, and parts of Africa. Okay? It will completely disrupt international banking to a very great degree. See, the thing you got to, the takeaway here is that Iran is not going to surrender to Trump. Trump is in gaga goo goo land. Okay? Not going to happen. If Trump attacks him again, this is what their plan is. Now, the way I'm studying prophecy, I think Iran will actually execute this type of plan, and then a lot of nations will come and do a tap dance on their head, and their country will be ruined, and they'll have to leave, and they'll scatter, the Lord says, into every nation of the earth. They'll scatter into every single one, and the sword will follow them, and they'll be cut off. Because people are going to be so mad and sick and tired of them. Because of their own problems, they decide to make the whole world pay the price. That doesn't work very well. The emergency oil cushion, think reserves, that was supposed to protect America is now at 298.7 million barrels. Perspective. The world at large uses 100 million barrels a day. So this supply is enough for 3 days to support the world. It's probably enough to support American oil a lot longer than that, okay? A lot. This 298.7 million barrels is the lowest level since 1983. I don't know what happened in 83, but something happened. One more week of drawdowns, and you're looking at numbers not seen since Reagan was filing it for the first time. So yeah, you're looking at pretty low. You see, Trump's terrible. The tariffs you put on, you pay for those. You're paying for the tariffs. Look at the inflation he caused. Look what your food prices have done. Look how much you enjoyed that $2,000 stipend he promised you that he never talks about. There's some more information about this. The oil prices that you see, like at oilprice.com, and the actual price refineries are paying, that's for crude oil. There's almost nothing to do with it. Let's get a price for actual physical delivery oil. What kind of price points are there now in Europe and Asia and America for actual immediate delivery oil, not the paper futures prices? It's easier to let AI look it up than for me to go hunt for it. All right, let's get some prices. So if we look at Europe, the Brent, the real price is about $89 to $92, where the paper price is probably low to mid 80s. In Asia, Dubai and Oman is running 80 to the low 90s. United States WTI is running $83 to $86 a barrel. No, it's not that outlandish. It's more. I thought it would be much more. No, it's not. It's usually $3, $4, $5. It's more than that. It's 10, 15, but it's still within the realm of, you know, you can get by. Um, China already quietly destroyed a massive chunk of its own oil demand by going all in on high speed rail and EVS. They never needed to employ their reserves the way Western analysts expected. Okay. So those high-speed trains go, they get up even to about 200 miles an hour. So you can't go that fast with a car. You know, you can on the autobahn if you're crazy, and you buy a very expensive Bugatti or Lamborghini. Yeah, but the problem you have with that is you're going so fast. And you know, I had exotic cars years ago, and this is a real problem. The people way ahead of you, like a mile up, right, are driving along at 70, and they want to change lanes, so they'll put their signal on and they'll move over to the left lane real slowly, and they're going 70, and you're going 160. You're way back there. They don't see you, and then you ride up on them, and then you got to go for brakes, and you got to really mash your brakes at a very high speed and stabilize the car. Now, I had these Porsche turbos, and they have a computer, and they control the braking, and the power going to all four wheels is running with a computer on all four-wheel drive and four-wheel braking, so it would keep you from getting skidded and hurt, but you had to make sure you saw it in time, you know. So it's very dangerous running that fast. You know, you probably could do reasonably safely with a good car running 90 or something like that. You know, but you gotta be careful with that stuff. It's not that great of an idea to go very fast. You know. Um, You're not on a racetrack with professional drivers, you're with amateurs. People listening to the radio, talking on the phone, and not paying close attention. So you gotta watch yourself with that. So they encourage people instead of driving to use public transportation. And if we had a 200 mile an hour train here in Israel, we could. I mean, it'd be really pleasant. I could get it on here and go down to Eilat, and I'd be there. I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes or something. It would really be nice. Israel doesn't bother with it because the train routes aren't that big because we're not that big ourselves. So they run trains that are regular trains that run about 80, 85 miles an hour, which is pretty quick if you're not going any great distances. We have a very large bus system. There's a raging wildfire that surged across California-Nevada border after two separate blazes merged early yesterday, creating a single massive inferno that has already scorched more than 44,000 acres north of Reno. I will kindle fires in and around your cities. Remember, when the cities start getting it, the gas lines will blow and burn. So, what else here? Israel is renewing diplomatic relationships with Venezuela, which we haven't had for 17 years. Turkey's military aggression is going out of hand, and yeah, that's where Satan's seat is in North Cyprus, which is owned by Turkey. They've got 5% of Syria land. They've got 2,000 square kilometers of land in Iraq. They're actually controlling 36% of Cyprus, calling it North Cyprus. The Qatari foreign minister rejected any idea of joining the alliance between Saudi, Turkey, and Pakistan. He says it's too early. He's a punk. He's not going to fight. He's the son or grandson of these rich, kingly dictators that grew up with a platinum spoon in his mouth, and he doesn't have the stomach to fight. He just wants life to go on, and he just, runs around as a billionaire and distracting himself with wealth and riches. And that's what they do. They don't want anything to change. They live on a level that's so high, they keep it from the people. The people don't really know what their life's like, how wasteful they are. People don't understand. They'll buy a mattress for $100,000. They'll buy sheets for $300-$400 a sheet. They'll buy towels for $100-$200 a piece. They sell men's suits that go up to, it used to be a really expensive men's suit was $3,000 to $5,000. Now they go up to $15,000-$20,000 for a suit of clothes. These big corporate moguls will maybe buy a suit and wear it 3 times. Then they're done with it. They're not going to wear the same suit 8 or 10 times. Not a chance. It's still within the realm of reality for Trump to go after Iran militarily in a big way. But we got to always remember that it says, in Jeremiah 49, starting in verse 34 to the end, it's Elam, and it's Iran, and it can be parts of Iraq and Syria too. Um, they get destroyed by their enemies in the plural, so it, yeah, you could say if it's Israel and America, it's plural, but I think it's, more than that. Okay, we'll have to wait and watch how this develops, but I think it's going to be a lot of countries. Let me see what we got going on in the live stream real quick. Thank you for all the greetings, guys. That movie, The Warriors, they were using baseball bats. I remember that movie. Rather unrealistic. A jacket with built-in bear repellent. Oh, you could just get a loop or something sewn on your jacket and mount the can of bear repellent, bear spray in there. Yeah, a very common, you could throw your jacket on somebody in a knife fight or a blunt weapons fight, and you could also use it to wrap it around your arm and block and parry, because the knife's not going to do good most of the time against your arm with the jacket wrapped 2 or 3 times around it. That changes the perspective pretty good. Car keys is a joke. It's not going to do anything. You're going to get them mad at best. They're not going to. A sock with rocks in it is what do they call it? There's a legal word for it. It's basically like a blackjack. You could go to jail for that. One thing you never want to do is get a walking stick or a cane and fill it with anything inside, like lead shot or anything, because that gets you classified as like a weapon. Instead, get one made out of heavier steel tubing if you want, but 2 millimeters is more than what you need. Really, that's it. That's there's a company called K-Bar, Ka-BAR, that used to make a cane with 3.3 millimeter of aluminum, and it's bent one piece with a hook, so you got a handle, and they're still on the market. They're about $150. They're on the heavy side. They're about 2.15 pounds, and the problem they did, they used an aluminum called 5054, which is a maritime aluminum. So it's something you want to use, like if you live on the beach and you go fishing in your boat with your cane and it's in salt water all the time. It's extremely corrosion resistant to salt water, but it's also a soft aluminum. They used the wrong aluminum. Well, they used the right one for them. Because you're making it 3.3 millimeter. That's pretty thick, like 1/8 of an inch. Okay, that's pretty thick, and it's light because it's aluminum. And if you're going to use it in to protect yourself, defend yourself, it could dent and it could bend, and then it could, you know, could fall apart even, but not likely. Just denting would be most likely, but then you'd have to get rid of it probably. Um, if they use 7075 or 3116 aluminum, it would have been a much better thing. There are characters that sell canes with solid aluminum, but if they're of any substance, they're too heavy. You don't want to go over 2 pounds. It gets too, you can't get any velocity. The wood canes, a very popular one they use is hickory. I don't recommend that at all. You get a shillelagh if you want to use wood. That's a very dense, heavy wood. The problem with the shillelagh is there's people that sell fraudulent shillelaghs. They're not real shillelaghs made out of the right wood. Okay? And they don't season the wood. So they're not what you want. You gotta, I mean, if you're in the UK and there's a shop and you go in there and the guy's been around for 20 years, yeah, he's going to give you a real shillelagh. But if you're going to go to eBay or, you know, Amazon or something like that, you're going to probably wind up buying a shillelagh-like looking instrument that isn't shillelagh. There's other woods, you know, they have woods like ironwood, and there's 3 or 4 different ligum and stuff that the wood is denser than water, so if you throw it in water, this wood sinks. Imagine that. The ligium used to be what the British cops made their truncheon out of, but it's an endangered species, so exporting it is a nightmare. And there's others like ironwood and stuff that also sinks, and if you need to get it at like a 1-inch diameter without a taper, and it'd be pretty good. But the danger with any of these woods is if you're really going to wail on it, you know, you might crack it. Yeah, it's very unlikely though. Now, I would say if you had a big fight with a cane, you might want to take that cane and retire it and get a fresh one after that big fight if you were hitting somebody on bones with it, because you might have weakened it and it may not be functionally as good as it is. Now, with an aluminum tube cane, you could look at it and you can see the state of it. What you see is what you get, so you don't maybe have to worry about it as much. But if you get a 2mm stainless steel cane, I mean, it's really, I don't think an average or an above average human being has the strength to swing it and hit an object and wreck it. I don't think you could do it. I don't think you're strong enough. Now, if you get a guy that's a professional athlete that trains 6 hours a day or something like that, he's going to probably be able to swing it 20-30% faster than you, that's all. And it probably wouldn't hurt it either. So, that's a cheap, easy way. You go to a machine shop, you get about 45-inch tube. You got to get a special bender. You got to get to a machine shop that knows how. There's a name of it. It begins with the letter M. I don't remember it all, but it has to be bent on a special device. CNC machines can bend it, and you have it bent. And there's things you could do after that. You could have them polish it, or you could paint it with some enamel that'll stick. Paint it brown like wood or something like that, and put a rubber bottom on it, which is going to cost you $1 or $2 for that, so you can use it without it slipping. And there you have it. I think if you drove an SUV over it, I don't know if it would collapse the tube or not. I'm not sure. But that's, when are you gonna have an SUV drive over it? If you stood on it, would it collapse the tube? No, I highly doubt it. If you jumped on it, well, maybe, but when are you gonna jump on it for, I mean, if you really, really, want that to not happen, get a 3 millimeter, and that's gonna weigh 4 to 5 pounds. Then you could drive an SUV over it, you know. But it's too heavy. The wood ones can work if you get the right wood. The Blackthorn, the Irish one for the shillelagh, they have bumps on it that can be really punishing if you're going to use it in self-defense. They're pretty punishing. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. The I've seen idiots that sell canes with a hammerhead for a handle, a real metal hammerhead. Yeah, I mean that's effective, but how do you walk through the street with that? Every cop that sees you can say, "What's this moron doing?" What's this idiot doing? That's. So there's a lot of things. You can get grade 9 titanium tubing and make yourself a cane. Grade 9 titanium tubing is incredibly tough, but you're probably going to have to spend $200 just for the tubing. And then I don't know where you're going to find somebody that's going to be able to bend it correctly. If you found somebody, you might be able to go to some guy in China and contract it, have it, contracted in China to do the whole thing, and I think you'd probably be in for $200-300 and waste of money. You don't need it. The wood canes work, but the metal ones work better. But some of the wood is very effective. Why? Because the wood is lighter than the metal. So if the wood has enough mass and you have the right wood, like the shillelagh wood, and you get a good swing with it and hit, now you got a winner. Deep basements, no, they don't have that in, if you think of Dubai, no. The only country I know where all the houses have bomb shelters is Israel. I actually got 2 of them. "83 days till midterms." Yeah, Trump's worried about the midterms. He's thinking they're going to have a country of jihadists if it happens that way. Mommy Dog is still in great form, by the way. I'm going to take a quick break and then we'll do the Bible. The Iranians said that they're ignoring the trilogy, which is the Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. They're not going to pay attention. If anybody attacks them, they're going to respond against that country. In other words, they're saying, you have no deterrent value against us. What they'll immediately do to Turkey if they act up against Iran is Turkey has a few dozen military bases in Syria that are all within the reach of Iranian drones and missiles. And I doubt there's any good defenses there to take down drones and missiles. They'll destroy his bases in Syria, which I sincerely hope they do. I don't know if they could hit Turkey with missiles. Let's do a quick study on this. Okay. What is the distance from the closest point in Iran nearest to Turkey? So in other words, what is the air miles distance from Iran to Turkey? Oh, they got a land border. I didn't realize that. Okay, so that changes the whole thing. It means Turkey can invade Iran and they'll get slaughtered, and Iran can invade Turkey and that would probably go not that bad, but bad. So, yeah, this could prove to be very interesting. Very interesting. All right, let's get into our Bible work. There's an outside chance I'm going to get interrupted by my delivery. That could happen. I don't know if it will. I doubt it, but it could. I'd like to remind you this is offering supported. That's how this works. We don't sell anything. Okay, so we're in chapter 6 of the book of John. We're using Salkinson's Hebrew New Testament, and we're using Delich, and I'm having it translated into raw English with no, not using any of the translation materials the church uses, that the church publishing houses put out, and no church doctrines or anything like that. I'm using AI. Okay, chapter 6, verse 1. After these things, Yeshua went away across the Sea of Galilee of Tiberias, and a great crowd followed him because they looked upon his sign wonders, his miracles, signs and wonders, which he performed on the sick and the weak ones, the healings. The Delich uses the word disease, sick, weak, disease. You get the idea. So these were miracles because people couldn't do it. Only with the power of God could it be done. So it's a miracle. So Yeshua went up into the mountain, and there he sat down with his disciples. The disciples were the apostles down the road. Now the Pesach, or the Passover, the physical feast day of the Judeans, of the Jews, was near. Then Yeshua, lifting up his physical eyes and seeing that great crowd was coming towards him, said to Philip, "From where shall we purchase loaves of bread so that these may eat?" See, they were coming to hear the word of God. And Yeshua said, okay, they're coming to get fed with the word, spiritually fed. I'll feed them in the physical also. Now he said this, testing him. For he himself know what he was about to perform. So Yeshua knew what was going to happen. And Philip answered him, 200 denarii worth of loaves of bread is not sufficient for them, that each one of them may take a little. So they didn't have enough bread. They probably had enough for the disciples, you know. One of his disciples, Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, said to him, "There is a young boy here who possesses 5 barley loaves and 2 small physical fishes." Fish, we would say, not fishes. We'd say fish. 2 small fish, not fishes, right? If you were going to school and you said, "Oh, I have 2 fishes," you'd flunk out of school, you know? But who's to say what's correct? I use the word ain't just because why do they have the ability to tell me I can't say ain't? I like using ain't. 2 small physical fishes, but what are these for? What are these for so great a crowd? And then it says in Delich, and 2 small fishes, but what are they among so many? Okay, so he's saying that's not with so many people, that's nothing. So verse 10, John 6, verse 10, Yeshua said, cause the human men to recline. Now there was much green grass in the place, so the men reclined, in number about 5,000. That's big. Then Yeshua took the loaves of bread, and having given thanks, he distributed them to the disciples, and the disciples to those reclining. Likewise also of the small fishes, as much as they desired. And when they were filled, he said to his disciples, gather together the leftover broken pieces, so that nothing physical perishes. So they gathered them together and filled 12 baskets, containers, 12 basket containers with broken pieces from the 5 barley loaves. So it was barley bread. Barley bread's pretty good, by the way. Which remained over to those who had eaten, I think he was doing perhaps unleavened barley bread. Of course, it was Pesach. Pesach is one day, and then you go into unleavened. So he was just kept taking food out of the basket, and it just kept replenishing itself, Then those human men, seeing the sign wonder which Yeshua had performed, said, "This is truly the prophet who comes into the world." That would be another reason why this was done, as a confirmation. Preach the word with signs following. The true word, you have signs following. So Yeshua, knowing that they were about to come and seize him by physical force to make him king, withdrew again to the mountain by himself alone. Well, hey, let's make this guy king. We'll have all the food we need, all the healing, all the food, Verse 16. Now, when evening came, his disciples went down to the sea, and stepping into the boat, they were going across the sea to Capernaum. The sea is a 5-mile throat across, 7 miles long. That's how it is now. It might have been a little bigger back then, but I don't think substantially. Darkness had already come, and Yeshua had not yet come to them. And the sea was rising up because a strong wind was blowing. So when they had rowed about 25 or 30 stadia, they looked upon Yeshua walking upon the sea and coming near the boat, and they became afraid. But he said to them, "It is I, do not be afraid." Then they were willing to receive him into the boat, and immediately the boat was at the land to which they were going. So I think it just either went boom, boom, or it just moved fast to get there. Probably just moved fast. On the next day, the crowd standing on the other side of the sea saw that there was no other boat there except that one into which his disciples had stepped, and that Yeshua had not entered and that Yeshua had not entered into the boat with his disciples, but that his disciples had departed alone. Now we're at 23, verse 23. John chapter 6, verse 23. Yet other small boats came from Tiberias near the place where they ate bread after the Lord had given thanks. So when the crowd saw that Yeshua was not there, nor his nor is this the way they themselves stepped into the boats and came to Capernaum. That's crossing the other side of the Galilee to Capernaum from Tiberias, seeking Yeshua. And finding him across the sea, they said to him, Rabbi, when did you arrive here? Yeshua answered them and said, Truly, truly, I say to you, you seek me not because you saw sign wonders, but because you ate from the loaves of bread and were satisfied. No, it says, so not because you saw the signs and wonders, but because of the food you ate, that's why they came. Do not work for the food that perishes, but for the food that remains into age abiding life, which is enduring unto everlasting life. So the food he's talking about is the bread, like the communion. You got the bread, which is him, and the blood, from him. The wine and the bread. Which the Son of Man will give to you, for on him God the Father has pressed his seal stamp. And it says here in Delich, shall give unto you, for him has God the Father sealed. Yeah. Then they said to him, What shall we do that we may perform the works of God? So Yeshua answered and said to them, This is the work of God, that you place trust in him whom he sent. Place faith. It was faith. believe in me through faith, you know. So they said to him, what sign or wonder, you know, sign wonder, do you perform then, so that we may see and place trust or faith in you? What work do you perform? Our fathers ate the manna in the wilderness, as it is written, he gave them bread out of heaven to eat. Then Yeshua said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, Moses did not give you the bread out of heaven, but my Father gives you the real bread out of heaven. Then again, he's referencing communion. You know, the water, he is the Holy Spirit. The wine is his blood, and the bread is his flesh. You know, for the bread, but that's a allegorical, spiritual terminology. You know, for the bread of God is he who comes down out of heaven and gives physical life to the world. And then it says comes down from heaven and gives life unto the world. So they said to him, Master, give us this bread always. And Yeshua said to them, I am the bread of life. The one coming to me will not hunger at all, and the one placing trust or faith in me will never thirst. Now he's talking about spiritual. Verse 36, but I said to you that you have both seen me and do not place trust or faith. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and the ones coming to me I will by no means cast outside. He's not going to get rid of you if you come to him. You got to come to him sincerely. If you come to him because you want eternal life and you believe he can give it to you, that's fine. The faith. Verse 36, for I came down out of heaven not to perform my own desire, but the desire of the one who sent me. Now pay close attention. And this is the desire of the Father who sent me, that of all which he has given me, I should lose nothing. All the elect he's not going to lose, but raise it up at the last day. That's when the rapture is, the last day. That's the end of the world, after the millennium, after Satan's released, okay? There are no more days. That's when your rapture is. There's no multiple raptures. There's no left behind rapture. It's fiction. Verse 40, and this is the desire of the one who sent me, that everyone looking upon the Son and placing trust in him possesses age-abiding life, and I will cause him to stand up at the last day. Now we'll do it in Delich. And this is the will of him that sent me, that every one which sees the Son, and that happens in Zechariah chapter 12, verse 10. See him in the clouds, Matthew 24:30, Revelation 1, verse 7. Which sees the Son and believes on him, so it only works for the believers, may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Verse 40, and no, raise him, cause him to stand right. Okay, I'll raise him up. Verse 41. Then the Judeans murmured concerning him, because he said, I am the bread that came down out of heaven. And they're thinking, oh, he's the manna of bread, something like that. And they said, is not this Yeshua, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we physically know? How then does he say, I came down out of heaven? See, a prophet doesn't get the respect in his own house or his town. Yeshua answered and said to them, do not murmur among yourselves. No human man is physically able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will cause him to stand up at the last day. There it is again. Raise him up at the last day. To raise him up is more accurate. And that's again saying on the last day, whether on the more days, that's your rapture. The dead in Christ rise first and all of that. There's no left behind raptures or anything like that. No pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib. And you're only going to come to Yeshua if the Father draws you, which means you are the elect. Verse 45, it is written in the, and you're not going to, he's not going to throw you away. You can run away from him or go away from him, but he won't throw you away. And they shall all be taught of God, everyone who heard from the Father and learns comes to me, and has learned of the Father comes unto me. Yeah. Okay. Not that any human man has seen the Father except the one who is from God. He has seen the Father. He's saying, I saw him. Truly, I truly say to you, the one placing trust in me possesses age enduring life. Delich is, he that believes in me has everlasting life. Yeah, because you're going to see him. And you're going to get changed to everlasting life. You're going to be like young again, jump out of the stall like the baby calf. You'll run and not get tired. Like the children get tired, you won't. I am the bread of life, and that bread of life, him, gives you this life, this everlasting life. Your father ate the manna in the wilderness and died. This is the bread coming down out of heaven so that a human man may eat from it and not die. Yeah, if you're eating the bread of life, you're sure you're gonna, initially you'll have everlasting life when he appears, and you'll be in New Jerusalem where there's no death, and then you'll get another kind of body, go up on a cloud to heaven and be in heaven eternally. So you're not gonna die. This generation that makes it, once you make it to everlasting life, unless you go backsliding or something like that, you should do fine. Make it all the way. That's why we're being tested so hard. I think it's hard. I think you think it's hard. We all could probably agree that it's rough. It's been long, you know. It's hard because it's so long, I guess. I am the living bread that came down out of heaven. If any human man eats from this bread, he will live through the ages. And the bread which I will give is my physical flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. He's saying he's giving up his body for that, and his blood. Okay, now let's read it from Delich. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. Okay, to give you life, forever life. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. That's live forever. Or you could say everlasting life, but you do live forever. I think to live forever is more accurate, but it goes in phases. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I give for the life of the world. Then the Judeans argued with one another, saying, how is this man physically able to give us his physical flesh to eat? Well, that would be cannibalism, an unclean meal, you know. 53. So Yeshua said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood. That's communion. You do not possess life inside yourself. The one eating my flesh and drinking my blood, that's taking communion with faith, possesses age abiding life. That's eternal life. And I will cause him to stand up at the last day. Again, that's when the rapture is. For my flesh is real food, and my blood is real drink. He's talking allegorically, of course. The one eating my flesh and drinking my blood dwells inside me. The one eating my flesh and drinking my blood dwells inside me, and I inside him. Just as the living Father sent me, and I live because of the Father, So the one eating me, he also will live because of me. '59. This is the bread that came down out of heaven, not as your fathers ate the manna and died. The one eating this bread will live to the ages, shall live forever, is what that one says. So, see, he's talking like not exactly a parable, but allegorically, so the unbelievers wouldn't understand it and laugh at him, and they wouldn't get it. These things he said in the synagogue, teaching in Capernaum in English, 60, verse 60. Therefore, many of his disciples, hearing this, said, "This statement is hard and harsh." Be able to listen to it. But Yeshua, knowing inside himself that his disciples were murmuring concerning this to them, does this cause you to stumble? What then if you should look upon the Son of Man? So they were murmuring concerning this, said to them, does this cause you to stumble? What then if you should look upon the Son of Man ascending up to where he was before? This is the final thing when he rises, from to go up to heaven, and they could then plenty of people would see him and they'd hear about it, so they knew what was going on. Plus, a lot of the dead came up from the ground when he was resurrected and went around and showed themselves to people, and I'm sure they were testifying about Yeshua, being who he is. It is the Spirit that gives life. See, you're going to get the everlasting life from the Holy Spirit inside you at the right time. The physical, that's why you see in Zechariah 12, he pours his Spirit out on the people first, and then they see Yeshua, then they get the everlasting life. It's the Holy Spirit that's doing the job here, which is God, really, The physical flesh profits nothing at all. The words which I speak to you are spiritual and are life. What is it that the rich Satan bots want more than anything? The fountain of youth, right? Sure they do. Look at them. They take all these crazy expensive hormones and treatments, and they stretch their lives out. They make it till 90, 95, 99 years old, right? And they think that's wonderful, right? And they spend a lot of money, and they got to keep getting shots and tests, and they got to be careful. They could ruin their kidneys and liver and all that. And we just get it for free, but better than anything they ever had. That's gonna frost them, isn't it? Oh yeah. That's gonna show them what a mistake they made. The tormentors, what mistakes they made. Oh, what doom they are in. Oh. But there are some of you who do not place trust, for Yeshua knew from the beginning who those were that did not trust, that didn't have faith. and who it was that would betray him. Being God, he knew the end from the beginning, I expect, but he doesn't know the day or the hour, so he's not the same as God the Father. And he said, for how could he be the Jesus only when he says, I don't know the day or the hour, only my Father does. There's clearly there's two of them and they're separate, you know. I mean, you know, how do you can believe this stuff? I don't know. And the stuff they teach in these crackpot churches, I don't know how you could believe it. And he said, for this reason I said to you that no human man is physically able to come to me unless it has been granted to him from my Father. And that's it, because you will not believe. From that time, many of his disciples went back to the things behind and walked with him no longer. Then Yeshua said to the 12, do you also desire to go away? See, he knew the ones that were left. Well, he had a traitor in them, one of the 12, you know. Simon Peter answered him, Master, to whom shall we go? You possess words of age-enduring life, and we have placed trust and recognize that you are the Holy One of God. Yeshua answered them, did I not choose you, the 12, yet one of you is an adversary, accuser. So Yeshua tells them, don't think you chose me, I chose you. That's in another place. Now, but similar to what he said here, don't think you chose me, I chose you, or my Father chose you, or, you know. Or he chose them, you know. He says he chose them. Okay, so they don't choose, you don't choose Yeshua, it's done for you by either God the Father or Yeshua. I'm not exactly clear on that. I think more so the God the Father has to do it, you know. But Yeshua says he chose, so. Anyway, you got the idea. 71, now he spoke of Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, for he was about to betray him, being one of the 12. Okay, well, that was a big chapter, like 2 chapters. So this is an important chapter. It again brings out, you see him in the clouds, boom, you get the everlasting life if you're a believer. I think probably you'll come directly to Israel. And since the Israelites will be converted at that time, I believe he pours his Spirit out on them. And I think they have to go to the wilderness. I'm not entirely certain on this, but I'm thinking that's the way it shapes up. Because we read a lot about believers being brought in directly to Israel, stopping at the wilderness. So then again, you know, comes the great falling away. 70. We got a long time to go with that. Maybe that's.
I need to go ahead and put your breakfast on the table, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. And then maybe that needs, you know, maybe I'll change that one day, but it looks pretty good right now. I don't know. And then the dry bones come directly to Israel. Okay. The dry bones don't seem to be going to New Jerusalem. It seems more like Israel. Okay, so they would be at the same time, I think. Remember when Yeshua did the great work and rose from the dead rose up and showed themselves to people, right? So this is, again, a great work, everlasting life, and then dead come back. got to get the attention of the people, you know, get the elect and all that. All right, so I'll get a prayer for us. I hope you enjoyed that, and I did mention Mommy Dog is doing real good. Thanks for all the prayers, you know. My Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach, I pray for me and my wife, all the true believers and their households, that we would have your peace, safety, protection, joy, and your shalom peace, and we would have your strength, stamina, endurance, and healing and recuperative power flowing through us, healing as needed. And for our animals and pets and ourselves, we'd be safe, secure, happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. And I pray that those of us that need a place to live, or a job, or clients and customers for a business, find them. I pray we all have adequate money and then leftover extra. And I pray that we all understand the scriptures better, and including me. And I pray that I could do better live streams and videos and teaching about the Bible. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Now some spiritual warfare. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father Yehovah, for me and my wife and all the true believers in their households, I loose off of them and out of them. Let me start over. I did this wrong, I think. My Heavenly Father Yehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, pray for me and my wife, all the true believers and their families and households. I loose off any person in this group here. Any unclean spirit has to come out of these people, never to return unto them again. And if there's any evil and wicked spiritual warfare directed at any of these people, it is now loosed off of them. It's null and void for all time, shall never return in a similar fashion or the same way ever again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And that knocked me out. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And remember, we're offerings driven. And out of this. And that's it. Thanks, guys.